Welcome into Game Day Sports Radio. We're continuing here on Inside the Numbers. We're going to preview the Army-Navy game. It's a 3 o'clock kickoff on CBS, game played in Philadelphia. Navy leads the all-time series 62, 53, and 7 ties. Thankfully, no more ties in college football. Recent history, Navy had won 14 straight from 02 to 15. Army has flipped that script, winning 4 of the last 6 meetings. Notable stat here, the last 16 Army-Navy games have all stayed under the total. And to help us with today's preview, we have Mike Plaia. After graduating John Carroll High School, he attended West Point and lettered in both baseball and football for Army. Mike, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Appreciate you having me on today.
Yeah, we're glad to have you. It's a great week. Now, we live in a state that has Alabama and Auburn, and it's a football crazy state, but this game is different. And why don't you share with the viewers the differences?
It really is. It's I grew up in Birmingham. I grew up with the Alabama-Auburn rivalry. This rivalry really goes beyond the state border. It's not just nationwide. It goes across the globe. It's one that incorporates every soldier, every service member that are all tuned into this. They all pay attention to it. It's just so much passion. You're going to have soldiers that are up at 3 a.m. via satellite feed in Afghanistan that are watching this game. It means a lot to a lot of people.
Yeah, and as far as you and I talked off the air about the difference between the Army-Navy rivalry and Air Force. Air Force is kind of like the odd man out, so to speak. I mean, they're just as important in the big scheme of things, but as far as rivalries go, it's not the same.
You're right. And when you walk into Annapolis, or if you walk into the gates of West Point, from the very first day, it is beat Navy or it's beat Army. And it's ingrained in every person there. It's written everywhere you go. It's actually, you and I share a common background around our Italian heritage. Just like forget about it is used to say 100 different things. Beat Navy means 100 different things, but it's a way you respond, a way you communicate, and it means the world to all the folks affiliated with both academies.
I mentioned in the opener that this game has played 16 straight unders, right? So obviously low scoring. We haven't seen a high scoring game since 05, and a lot of that has to do with both culture and offensive philosophy.
You're right. It's the academies run a version of the triple option, and they do so. It's every team, most teams run a spread offense now. They've got these great athletes. They've got speed all over the field. It's difficult to get into an academy. I mean, the academic standards are rigorous. It takes a lot. It's highly competitive. Up until recently, you could not go into the NFL until you served your time in the military to pay that back. So it's been difficult to get those top 5-star recruits. So when you run a different version offense that teams aren't prepared for or don't prepare for every single day of every week, it gives you a little bit of an advantage. They have to scheme it within 1 week, and typically they don't have the personnel to do that. Now, when you play, the academies play each other, they know those offenses. They know how to defend those offenses, and they have the personnel to run the scout team to give that look, that different variation of that offense for their defense to prepare for. So typically what you get is a hard-nosed fight for every single inch game that they'll just compete. But they're very familiar with each other's offensive schemes.
Yeah, and to that point, as a handicapper, the next week you want to play against a team that played Army or Navy the previous week because they're beat up, the cut blocks, and they're off kilter because they had to defend the triple option. Also, as a handicapper, I'm looking at Army here plus 2.5 points, and I assume you're going to go with Army to beat Navy this week, right?
Most definitely. I don't care what the records are. I would not pull against them. But it's an interesting matchup. The records don't reflect it, but they're both very good teams. Navy's coming off a win against UCF, that's 17-14. UCF played in the championship or is playing in the championship. You've got a close game. Navy lost to Notre Dame by 3 points. But you got an Army team that lost to Troy 10-9 on a missed field goal and a missed extra point, and they lost to UTSA by 3 points as well. Both teams that are 11-2. So it's an interesting matchup that they played some very talented teams. Don't underestimate the record. The challenge you get into on these lines, when I played, we were 3-1 against Navy. And the one time we lost my sophomore year, we were 3 touchdown favorites, and we lost 24-3. It's just It's one of those games that anything goes, and it's just mentioned before. There's so much passion that's associated with it that makes this game special. But it's one that it's hard to pick. But if you're going to pick anything, usually the under is a good one to go with too.
Yeah. All right. So our old school, John Carroll High School. I understand that you're helping out there, and you have that's your role in athletics today.
It is. I help coach at John Carroll, and I'm excited about that opportunity because a lot of the things that I learned in the athletic fields are very important to me. They've helped establish where I've gotten to in life, and I like to pass that on. But it's the same thing we're talking about with it at West Point. A lot of the opportunities, that the things that they teach you at West Point, the things you learn in that leadership institution, as well as on the field. I mean, we talk about the Army-Navy game. It is a game about America. I mean, that's what we're talking about with Army-Navy. It is a game about America. It is a game about honor. It's a game about respect. It's a game about commitment. It is where you're going to get the best of everything in one place at one time. It is a game that every player on that field, every person on that field playing is willing to die for everyone that's watching. They've already made that selfless commitment to that. So it's the one game where all that comes out, and that brotherhood and all those things that I took away from that, we want the opportunity to impart and teach that upon young men and women today that are growing up, because they're growing up in a different environment. So I think football, as an example, sports is an outdoor classroom. So if you want to pay it forward and you want to teach some of those things that enable the youth of America, the youth that's in our communities, to have success, it's the ability to teach some of those things through athletics, through that outdoor classroom. And it's a difficult world today. I mean, kids live in a comfort zone. We live in a world of convenience, right? I mean, you don't have to go to the grocery store. Kids don't even have to go outside to play with their friends anymore. They can get online on a computer and talk to their friends. So this world of being able to stay in your comfort zone is a challenge to be able to move kids beyond that.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, a meaningful legacy is about how many people you're going to positively impact, and sports is a great way to do that, especially to reach the young people and have a true impact on who they become. We want to tell us a little bit more about the leadership initiative at John Carroll.
I would absolutely love to. It's a big passion of mine. It's a big passion of the other coaches. Coach Mara is the head coach at John Carroll football. Stan White, who everybody knows from Auburn, is a coach as well. He's actually stepped down as the radio broadcaster after 20 plus years, and he now is assuming a role of helping the college recruiting for our athletes. So we've got a lot of very important people that are passionate, invested. So what we created was a whole syllabus around developing a tradition of winners. So when we say a tradition of winners, the definition of a winner to me is something that we're not going to see right now. We're going to see 5, 10, 15 years from now. What kind of individual is that person? Were they able to become the best version of themselves? So going back to what I said earlier, kids today, life's a little bit different than when we came up, right? So how do we teach them that you've got to get out of your comfort zone? You've got to expand beyond the fear of failure so you can get to a growth zone so you can be the best version of you. So that deals with things like, we teach about perseverance. We teach about self-discipline. We teach about how to get out of your comfort zone. We teach about how to overcome the fear of failure, because without failure, you don't reach success. You don't improve. So you never expand beyond what you are today. So going through adversity, how do I respond to adversity, not react to adversity, and teaching them how to have mantras that enables them to respond to that. So as you and I know, they're going to face a lot of adversity. As adults, we face it every day. They don't necessarily face it, but they're going to. So are they prepared to respond to that? And the other is a lot around leadership. I don't know if the young people of America really know what that means, right? Lead by action, lead from the front, right? All the things that go into developing yourself as an effective leader. There are ways to teach that. And I learned it at West Point quite a bit. And I think athletics, for us, the football program is a great way to teach these young men. And we know that those results will reflect themselves on Friday nights. That's not our intent, but it will when they understand what true commitment means, when they understand what valor. So we have a mantra we call CAV-WAY. That's Cavaliers: commitment, attitude, valor. We are you. So as they learn all these different attributes, it enables them not just for success on the field, but it enables them off the field. And I will tell you, Mike, a lot of this comes from, I used to walk by a statue at West Point going to practice that General MacArthur had. And he had a quote that said, "Upon the fields of friendly strife are sown the seeds that upon other fields and other days will bear the fruits of victory." What's he saying? He's saying what you're learning out here is going to enable you to be successful in the other endeavors you do in life. But you've got to learn it. You've got to be able to go through that. You've got to fail a little bit. You've got to persevere. You've got to have the ability to want something so much that you don't stop when you're tired. You stop when you're done. You stop when you reach that result. You don't stop if you have a setback. You keep going. You learn and keep going. And just understanding that concept is something that we're teaching through the athletic program.
Right. It looks like John Carroll's going to be in great hands with that type of philosophy. And I know our kids at first, they couldn't believe it. Now they're tired of hearing it, but we didn't have air conditioning at John Carroll, right? You know, these kids today would freak out and cry and whine. Like, no, it's like, but again, they thought it was kind of unique and odd at first. Now they're just tired of hearing it. But I'm sure you've told your kids that, right?
Oh, many times. I'll start sweating in the morning and don't stop. And I used to say it was strategy at John Carroll, because if you remember, they had the big fans that made all the noise. It was almost like a sound machine. So you're in there, it's hot, and you're in a history class and they're reviewing history, and you've got this sound machine going in the background. You want to talk about learning how to overcome adversity. I think that may have been purposely planned to teach us those lessons.
Yeah, and then light bulbs looked like they were 1950s version, and it was dark and in the summertime in the early part of the year, and then the spring it was hot. But we got through it. It's okay, and I think John Carroll's in good hands. As far as tomorrow, 3:00 Eastern on CBS, it's going to be Go Army.
Yeah, beat Navy.
Thanks, Mike. Have a great day, and we'll have you on again soon.
You got it. Appreciate your time and having me on. You guys have a great day.
Take care.
You got it.